Kristen Hole and Senior Executive Director Allison Matney. I forget your exact title, Allison. Performance Management. Yes?
Assessment, accountability, and compliance.
I was really close. You, probably better spell your names for them. Just in case.
Yes, Kristen Hole, Kristen, Hole, HOLE, Chief Academic Officer.
And I'm Allison Matney, ALLISON, MATNEY. I'm Executive Director, Assessment, Accountability, and Compliance.
All right. So, I mean, this seems a little bit more formal than it really needs to be. We've got some information to provide for you, so I thought I'd provide it to you in person if possible. I know we have some people online. And then take some questions. And some of the questions, if they're very technical or related to a different area, Chief of Academics, Kristen Hole and Allison can help answer the questions. So let me just start by saying the Texas Education Agency has upgraded and made more rigorous the accountability process. We know that they're under litigation and they won't provide the accountability rating. However, we received some data, and we've also received the methodology they would use or are using for the ratings. And so Dr. Matney's office has put together, using the methodology that TEA would use, our accountability ratings. These, of course, are unofficial until TEA, if ever, are able to report it, but they're accurately based on the raw data which we have. So what I'm going to report today are the accountability scores that we have calculated, our office has calculated, based on the methodology that TEA uses and based on the raw data. Now, this is not going to be a big surprise, but the number of D and F schools are much higher than the past. Let me just tell you what they are right now and then talk a little bit about them. Based on the raw data and the methodology, we calculate that HISD has 52 F-rated campuses, 59 Delta D-rated campuses. That's 111 D and F rated campuses. We have 64 C rated campuses, 58 B, that's Bravo, and 35 A rated campuses. 35 A, 58 B, and 64 C. 59 D Delta and 52 F rated campuses. That's 111. Now, you remember earlier in the year there were already some estimates of what our accountability ratings would be, and I've been saying, you know, it's going to be much higher than it was in the past, and probably closer to 80, I think, was the last time we spoke about it. So it's higher than that, but it's not a surprise about where we are. So we have a lot of work to do is I guess the main message. We have a lot of schools that are struggling. This is the 22-23 ratings, right? So it's from the spring data. And we went into this year knowing that we would have a lot of work to do, especially around the quality of instruction, which is the leading indicator of academic achievement and hence accountability. So hence the need for the whole-scale systemic reform, something different. We can't continue to do the things we've always done. I've said that before. This data just confirms the distance we have to travel and the need for doing bold, innovative transformation. So the NES schools represent that level of whole-scale systemic reform I've been talking about. Obviously, we've got even more work to do than that. So let me turn the mic over to Kristen Hole to talk just a little bit about what this actually means on the ground in the schools for the work that we have to do.
Great, thank you all. I think at the heart of this, the message is the message we want to communicate is the same. We need to focus on high quality instruction in every classroom and every campus. That's what our students need, and that's what our students deserve. When we're really thinking about the support to provide, NES and non-NES students and campuses alike are getting support. We're providing access to high quality curriculum. We're also providing access to staffing, professional development, and on-the-job coaching for our teachers and our administrators. Those two things together really get at the heart of what a student is doing every day in the classroom. They're interacting with content and they're interacting with their teacher. And we're really focused on, across all schools, providing those supports so that at the end of the day, we can start to walk into every classroom at HISD and see high quality instruction happening for those students. And then Mr. Miles also spoke to more system-wide reform for NES. So in addition to curriculum and in addition to coaching and support, there's also support around innovative staffing models in NES schools. There's support in some of the programmatic offerings like Art of Thinking and Dyad that we offer. There's support around how we think about scheduling students to make sure they're spending the time on the most important things. And they have that intense differentiation support across content levels so they learn what's most important in reading and in math. So a lot of additional supports on the ground to help ensure we are focused on high quality instruction every day for all students.
The only other thing I'd say before taking questions is that we're already seeing some progress in our NES schools and in our other schools as well, because the reform is not just about the new education system schools. Reform is about 273 schools raising the quality of instruction and providing more supports for teachers. And so that's been happening. I was in two schools today, our Martinez Elementary School and Scroggins Elementary School. I've been in about 70 different schools at this point of the year. So I can say that there's been really good progress. We are not where we need to be, but we're making progress to where that bar is. And so very proud of the teachers, very proud of the principals. They know this is hard work. You all know this is hard work. And so, yes, we got the accountability ratings, or at least how we've calculated them. They're out now. But it doesn't change what we're going to do moving forward.
Questions. We'll start with those of you who are here in the room and then those of you who've joined us online. Who has a question?
Do we know the numbers of the qualifications of last year? How many schools were with A, B, C, D, F?
Yeah, I do, but I want to put a footnote. I think the number is 10, but the footnote of D and F schools. But the footnote is this: it's two different systems, right? We have an upgraded and more rigorous accountability system in TEA now. So to compare the two is not really a useful exercise.
How do you respond to, you know, the critics of this new accountability system and, you know, the people who filed the lawsuit that say that it's shifting the goalposts and kind of like, as you said, makes it so that we're comparing apples to oranges?
In the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the question is, how do I respond to the criticism that it is a different assessment or different accountability metric, and the criticism that the people who brought the litigation or lawsuit were concerned about? Here's what I would say. Look, the STAR test, the accountability, looks at lots of different things, um, and it looks at our proficiency. We have other data as well. NWA map assessments, DIBELS, Circle, NAEP, all point to the same thing. Our proficiency is low. The gap hasn't changed in 25 years. And so whether you're talking about STAR, yes, does this confirm what we've known already? Yeah, it's a confirmation. Um, and so we don't have to spend a lot of time arguing about uh, each detail of the accountability system. What we do need to focus on is what does the results say about our kids' ability to read and do math and science at grade level. That's what I focus on. Um, and that's why we're spending the time on the quality of instruction. That's why we're spending so much time in the schools. We know the effective teacher is the most important variable. We knew that before the STAR scores, by the way, before the accountability. We also know that the quality of instruction of those teachers is what the leading indicator of whether or not we can improve our ability to raise proficiency of our students. So that's what I would say.
Do you know yet how these new unofficial ratings will inform the decisions you make going forward about, how you approach certain schools and distribution of resources, et cetera?
Yeah, so we already have 85 schools that are getting the additional resources that Kristen Hall just described. Doesn't mean that we're ignoring the other schools. The other schools are also receiving a lot of supports, especially around curriculum, especially around coaching on the quality of instruction. But with regard to uh, the F and D schools that aren't receiving the supports of NES, we're right now thinking through the process of how we provide additional supports to get them out of F and D status also.
Do you have any insight on how these other 11 schools line up with the NES line schools?
Yes, I can tell you of the F schools, for example, 31 of them are NES and NESA. So remember, this data is from 2023, the spring of 2023, right? The 22-23 school year. So they were appropriately identified, I suspect, because their data is an F. 16 schools, however, are F and not NES. That's kind of is that what you're asking? You're asking that. So 16 schools are not currently NES or NESA schools.
Any other questions from parents?
Is it safe to say you're not surprised by these numbers, even though it's on a new system? Or are we the same? I'm trying to get a parameter of where we're at based off of the perspective.
Yeah, yeah, I think it is safe to say, and it's only safe to say, I mean, I'm surprised that it's larger than what we expected. But remember, back in the summer, we were already expecting a much higher number of D and F campuses. And so the fact that it's, higher than last year is not surprising. The fact that it's 111, yeah, that was not expected, that high a number.
Could we go to Dominic? I believe, Dominic, you have a question online?
Yes. Like you mentioned, this new accountability system has been enjoined because more than 100 other school districts sued, arguing that it essentially isn't very representative, and that the argument you're making now is what the public would make, that, districts are largely failing. They argue that it's an unfair rating system, and at least so far, a judge has been willing to hear them out to the point where it's been in. I'm curious to hear more about why
Look, we have a lot of work to do with regard to improving our reading scores. We have a lot of work to do with regard to improving our math scores and getting kids ready for the year 2035. We got a lot of work to do. We actually don't need the ratings to know that we have a lot of work to do. We have past data, past ratings. We have NWA scores, we have NAEP scores, we have DIBEL scores, and we have visits to our schools. All you need to do is go into the schools and see where the kids are with regard to their proficiency. We got great kids, they're working hard, our teachers are working hard, but you don't snap your fingers overnight and all of a sudden they are proficient. And so if you're a skilled educator and you go into our schools, you can see where they are. I don't really have much to say about the other districts. I'm focused on Houston. I'm focused on where we are and the distance we have to travel. So I don't have time for arguing about whether or not the accountability rating should be posted or not posted, or whether or not they should count for this number of points or that number of points. We have a lot of work to do. We're getting after it.
Okay, we have time for about 2 more quick questions. Anyone else? Margaret? Margaret, I think you're on mute if you have a question and can hear us. Looks like
Yeah. So first of all, don't know when the official announcement will come out at all. And I suspect most people have no idea when that is. But we got our methodology a week or 2 ago, and it's taken some time to really scrub the data, make sure we're pretty accurate on what our estimates of accountability are using the methodology that TEA gave. So this is, I guess we could have been a few days faster, but this is about as fast as we can be with regard to getting the scores out. Allison, do you have anything different to say about that? Okay.
all right. Anyone else who has a question? Thank you so much. We're going to keep the focus on this at the moment. Any other questions on this topic right now, please? Yes.
I guess a 2-part question. Do you have any idea of what the ratings would have been using last year's, or using the previous assessment or accountability system that TEA had? And then also to the point of the 16 F schools that are not NES or NESA, do you imagine that they will be next year?
So I didn't understand the first question.
So what how many DNF schools would there have been if we were still using the old accountability system that TEA had?
Yeah, because that methodology is no longer being, the question was, do we have any idea, had we used the old methodology, how many DNF schools would we have this year in 2023? We didn't calculate that since that methodology is no longer being used. The second question was on the 16 F schools, not DNF schools, F schools, okay, that are not NES currently, but received an F, what's going to happen to them? That's the question?
It could apply to the D schools as well. Just like the DNF schools that are not NES, do you imagine they will be next year?
So if you add total number of DNF schools, there are 45 DNF schools that are not NES or NES aligned. 45 total. And the question was, do we imagine them being what are we going to do with those schools? Or so we're going to figure that out now. What sort of supports we provide. I suspect that some of them will be new NES schools. So I'll leave it at that for now, but we're really working through all the considerations of what that means.
I just want to make one comment as it connects back to the recent conversation we shared last week around school choice. So one of the things we are committed to doing is providing parents with access to information about schools as a part of the school choice process. So this type of decision making, we're backward planning from being able to release to families information about new NES schools by February before the school choice process closes. So when we're asking why now looking at this, because we want to effectively provide parents with as much information as possible to make the best choices for their students.
Thank you so much.
But I think we also had one
Online, but we'll
one last question.
two more here in
Oh.
the audience.
Any plan to release like what schools those are, or is that?
Yeah, so we will do that. First of all, we want to scrub. We also want to socialize with our own principals and schools. So we will release the names of the schools and the rating sometime at the end of January, probably.
Superintendent Instructional had a question.
What about discipline? She mentions focusing on quality of curriculum, support of staff, but there are also happening like some changes on discipline, for example, like new rules limiting the use of the students' toilets.
Do we want to take those
We're
questions?
going to keep the focus
Yeah.
on this topic, but appreciate you all coming. Thank you so much. We'll be sending out a release here shortly. Thank you again.
All right, thank you, everybody.